So now it's time to listen to our eminent speaker, a renowned scholar, Professor Afroz Alam sir, to kindly address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
I have been given a lot of topics because I have to speak on democracy, I have to speak on something electoral, then I have to speak on politics, and then I have to contextualize it within India. So these are the things which everybody speaks. We know that the democracy is a topic which everyone is expert of. So ask anyone, that person will give you an explanation of what is democracy. And the greatest political scientist ever I found was the rickshaw puller, that banana seller, the tea seller. They are the greatest political scientists. If you will go and meet them and talk about politics, they will come out with the finest nuances of the state politics, local politics, and otherwise. So we are just drawing salary for doing nothing, and they are doing without salary. So the point is, a lot of challenges are here. The challenge is how to connect grassroots understanding of democracy and politics with the theoretical nuances what we teach in the classroom. But before going ahead with the topic, let me just recall some of the things. Personal recallings are needed because when you get a podium, you hardly miss a chance to speak personal things. ऐसे भी माइक बहुत कम ही मिलती है. So a friend was there in Aligarh Muslim University who cannot live without mic. So what happened with them? Because something or the other things he will speak on podiums, on mics, or newspapers. If for 3 days he didn't get the mic, he will go to a mosque and start azan पढ़ देते हैं. कम से कम अजान ही दे देते हैं मंदिर मस्जिद जो. तो those were the things. Fine enough. Academic orientation of this university is globally known. Osmania University has a glorious past, and I'm happy that this university is under the leadership of a man who wants to revive its past. It's not the first occasion. Professor Ravinder is here. Occasionally, on many times we discuss, and every time the discussion is on academics, how to improve the academic ambience of this Osmania University. We had a long-term chat with Professor Ganesh. We met at one conference at Hyderabad. He was motivated enough to run the discourses, the dialogues, the conversations revolving around national, local, and international issues. So if you have people like them at the helm of the affairs, something good may happen. The only thing is that we join their hands, we strengthen them in their academic efforts. And anyone, because academic integrity, academic growth is not a single man's responsibility, it's a collective responsibility. Everyone has to contribute to grow together because the principle is because there are thousands of universities in India and there are 50,000, more than 50,000 colleges. And everybody is trying to do something. Globally, there are 25,000 universities who are equally teaching what you are teaching here. So what you are teaching here should be relevant to the global audience as well. You are into a competitive framework. If you are not able to brand yourself, nobody else is going to brand you. So now academia is into cutthroat competition. Everybody is producing some knowledge, and that knowledge are socially relevant, that knowledge are policy oriented, and we must also contribute meaningfully to that. These initiatives like academic research committees are like that a platform where you call upon the resource scholars, resource persons from across. So fine, that's what I wanted to say, but I am being supposed to speak on democracy and electoral politics. I will have my own nuances, and that nuances is democracy. Everybody understand that democracy. We are demos, means we are people. And we are also the creators. We are also the system. So we are demos, we are creators because it is our rule. I recall that Abraham Lincoln, and I know many friends of you know that when Abraham Lincoln was addressing a gathering at Gettysburg in 1864, just to commemorate the martyrs of Civil War, he just made a point in his speech. And that speech is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This catchphrase is everybody's cup of tea. Ask anyone, it is government of the people, government by the people, government for the people. All right. So, democracy at one point of time was identified with what Abraham Lincoln popularized in his speech. But my query was like the curious mind. I am sitting here, Professor Ravindra, who has made a very critical and relevant point. I also thought of why not to probe Abraham Lincoln first. I thought whether he was the first one to come out with an understanding. He is to be credited. Then, when I surveyed the literature, a lot of digging has happened. Then I finally realized that no, it was not in 1864 that Abraham Lincoln was speaking. It was in 1858, 4th July. And there was a Pope of that father, Theodore Parker, who has to give a sermon in Boston's hall. And there he is saying about democracy. And let's see what he's saying. Democracy is direct self-government over all the people, by all the people, for all the people. So the idea that if I will really connect that the biographer of Abraham Lincoln had this idea that Abraham Lincoln was to attend the meeting and he was in rush. And probably he may have heard this sermon of Theodore Parker and he recollected and reproduced it. That was his biographer about to say. But I said that was it Theodore Parker? Then I dig deep. And you must remember there was a fine senator, Daniel Webster. And Daniel Webster has to respond to Harvey's speech in the United States Senate. And that was a period on 26th January 1830. So 26th January 1830, Daniel Webster was there and he has to reply to the Harvey's speech in the Senate. And he said, the people's government made for the people, made by the people, and answerable to the people. So let's see that. Now, the Abraham Lincoln is missing from the scene. Theodore Parker came up. Now, Theodore Parker is also displaced. Daniel Webster is there. Then I thought, is it Daniel Webster? Then I have to dig more. Then I realized that there was a translation happening of a Bible from Latin to English, and that translation was being done by John Wycliffe in 1384. And see the exact sentence, and you will be surprised. What he is saying for the Bible is being understood in the context of democracy. So, what he is saying that the Bible is for the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The exact locating that what Abraham Lincoln is saying. And this quotation I have taken from John Bartlett books of 1951 edition. Then again, I should be stopping myself. And everything, in political science, what is happened? Whatever we do, even we decide to marry, we draw the inspiration from Greeks. Greek philosophers ne aisa kaha hai that Yunan. So I thought, was there any Greek scholar who also looked upon this idea? So I recollect one Greek politician, and he has to deliver a speech, speech of funeral speech of a ruler after a Peloponnesian War, and that Cleon, some 2,000 years back, he is talking about that ruler in his speech, that the ruler is of the people, by the people, and for the people. So, Ultimately, it is Cleon, a Greek politician, who is popularizing the idea of what is democracy. Even if I dig deep, because there is a lack of literature, what Sumerians said, what Assyrians said, what Mesopotamians said, what Egyptians said. But at the moment, in the recorded history, it is the Cleon, the Greeks came out with an idea. All about that. Democracy is all about us, we the people. Finally, it is settled that somewhere people are involved. But who are the people? People means who are the people? So technically, the political equality principle should be all should be equal politically. But all are equal. You, me, Swatiji, and Purnaji, anyone, all are equal. So the point is that it has a different history of political equality globally. Entire population are equal politically, but political participation is restricted. I am equal, but I cannot participate in the political affairs as an equal member. There was a restriction. Oh, I should be, if I am below age 18, I am not allowed to vote in the election. So that all people below age 18 are excluded from political participation. Similarly, if I am a woman, which I am not, so the gender was a criteria that for a longer period of time in global history, the women were not treated as equal human beings. The whole feminist movement was standing on, are women human? If they are human, they must be entitled to human rights. And that human rights are equally available to all. So whether it is Ramesh or whether it is a Pratibha, both shall be treated equally. There are at the same time class is any, if you belong to a higher caste, middle class, that is also a criteria to restrict political participation. For example, let's take that in India, when we were beginning, the biggest revolution in India in terms of democracy was the adoption of adult franchise. Anyone who is adult, an adult by that time 21 years when we began with, so anyone who is adult was given the right to decide his or her own political fate, irrespective of your caste, religion, place of birth. But most of the advanced democracies of the world could not afford to immediately give this right to each and every adult. See, for example, the Greek, the most civilized, the great rational, the reasonable people whose knowledge are being taught, they did not allow all people as politically equal. Only 10% people in Greeks, particularly Athens, were given voting rights. They were given rights to participate in the political affairs. Women were excluded, artisans were excluded, foreigners were excluded, almost everyone. The slaves were excluded, only 10% who got the leisure time. That's why I'm giving the example of the Greeks. See, for example, of the United States of America. United States of America took more than 100 years after independence to give voting rights to its women. They are treated as the greatest democracy of the world. But they did not give voting rights to their own women. Similarly, this Switzerland, which everyone want to visit, that my wife asked me, where do you want to go? So she said, oh, Switzerland. But they don't treat you equal. So thankfully she was born after 71. So it was in 1971, after huge many period elapsed, then they granted voting rights to their women. We did not take a single day after independence to wait that our women should be taken. The mother of democracy called United Kingdom granted voting rights to women in 1928. But huge, that the country which ruled across the continent over the world. The United States of America did not recognize the voting rights of black people. So I am saying that India did not distinguish that, oh, Ambedkar, but when Constituent Assembly was there, lot of talk was there, and Ravinderji has also highlighted that how ideologically representative our Constituent Assembly was. So all extremes were being represented. So Gandhians were there, the Ambedkarites were there, the right wing is also there, the left wing is also there, but so many other questions. Who elected them? When cabinet mission came up, they recognized that yes, the Indian should get the right to draft its own constitution, which were otherwise denied throughout the commission annex. This demand is not new. So 1862, 1891, 1909, 1919, 1935, every time all those acts, council acts, government of India acts revised because we were not happy with the way the British were governing us. We always made our own demands to them. But I'm giving you one example. In that, that Simon Commission was about to come. And Lord Birkenhead was there. And he said that, you want to draft your own constitution, your own laws. The Simon Commission was not having any Indians there. So there was a huge mobilizations in India. Birkenhead saying that you want to draft your own constitution, your own laws. You are not capable enough. First resolve your differences. So that a challenge was being made against the Indians that you cannot have a consensus document of your own. Fair enough, you cannot produce, you are not capable of. And see that Indians accepted that challenge. And Motilal Nehru Committee was constituted and he consulted with each of the rival organizations at that point of time and produced a draft that is called Nehru Report. So the challenge, the Indians are always in habit of taking challenge. But until and unless crisis is not created, we do not respond. So first, my whole request to your Vice Chancellor that create crisis in everybody's life so that they should start delivering. Because that happy mind cannot deliver. Until and unless your mind is put to challenge, you cannot produce academic writings or knowledge productions like that. So imagine a situation, similar was the case that we were not being trusted by the British. 1935 came up, 46. Finally, Constituent Assembly was there. And what is the beauty of the Constituent Assembly? You have that the ideological diversity is already being highlighted. The another one is that it was all the members who were there that initially 389 when Pakistan and India were together. All 389 were supposed to be elected from the elected provincial assemblies there from India, so many. And but what happened? Those members who were representing in the provincial assemblies were elected by limited franchise. Who can vote in the elections? Those who are paying income tax or other taxes of the government. Those who are rich people having huge lot of lands. अगर मैं जमींदार नहीं हूं तो वोटिंग राइट मुझे नहीं. Second, those who were educated. Who were educated at that point of time? The 70% populations were excluded. 70% adult population I'm talking about. Otherwise, if we will calculate the entire population, it is 90%. The 70%, the adult populations were excluded from electing the representatives in the Constituent Assembly. The crisis that each one of them was not there. Similarly, but it is still a beautiful Constituent Assembly in terms of that it has taken care of ensuring the diversity despite not getting elected by an universal franchise. And what is that diversity? It ensured that all major communities should at least have 2 representatives. That was a principle. Though 80% of the members were from Congress party. The party was dominantly present, 80% members. But despite that, two members were being ensured. Similarly, India got partition because of religion, and how tolerant India was. 31 members were from Muslim community. Out of 299, 31 were from Muslim community despite the partition of the Constituent Assembly. Forget about that. Out of the 299, there were 15 women were being represented. The women were also being that how representative character it was. Similarly, B.R. Ambedkar was no one's choice. He was no one's choice. In fact, it was Muslim League from Kolkata somehow managed to get him elected to the Constituent Assembly. But by that time, the ideological consensus was being brought into the picture. See, he was the one highly educated. Comparing even Nehru, his education was far beyond Nehru, far beyond Rajendra Prasad ji. MA, double MAs, PhDs, DLA. So there was no area which he was not well versed of. The kind of experiences he was continuing, he was being given the response. See the broadness of the people. That you belong, that the most important task of collecting the documents. See, we have seen that. So Ambedkar disagreed with many things. You know that when the constitution which you are seeing today, that it took around 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. Fair enough, everybody knows that. 165 days it said. But do you know that when the draft was being discussed, more than 7,500 amendments were being proposed. Everybody want to change it. You know, एक बार क्या हुआ कि लियोनार्डो ने एक अपनी पेंटिंग बनाई और उसको एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे लगा दिया कि देखो मैंने एक अच्छी पेंटिंग बनाई है, जो सजेशन हो आप इसको दे दो. Whosoever was crossing that platform, या नाक थोड़ी ऐसी होनी चाहिए, कान थोड़ा सा ऐसा होना चाहिए था, थोड़ी सी ये शेप होनी चाहिए थी. By the end of it, painting was nowhere. तो क्या हुआ कि दूसरे दिन उसने एकदम ब्लैंक कैनवस को लगा दिया कि जो मैंने पेंटिंग बनाई थी वही बना दो, छोड़ो मतलब कि तुम अपने आइडिया. So it was like more than 7,600 amendments were being proposed. Close to 2,500 amendments were being discussed and debated. Then the constitution was being, see that debate, discussions. Democracy is all what? Democracy is all about a government of discussion. Government by discussion. Because we discuss. We don't impose that, no. For example, we have something. So democracy is something. But I must tell you that the Indian democracy, the beauty of Indian democracy, that despite radical ideological differences, despite having, like, for example, federal principles were being also being, the people belonging to the different regions, different that south, north, east, west, it was being ensured that everybody will get their representation in the constitution. But they were not satisfied the way Constituent Assembly was being created. So what they agreed, that once the constitution came into being, they agreed that no, the political fate of the country shall be decided by the people, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their backwardness or richness, irrespective of their gender. That's a revolution in itself. Now, I'm just telling you that these are the things. But democracy, let me come back to the democracy idea. The idea of democracy was like that. It was nowhere. At no phase of world history, democracy is being respected. Nowhere. Greeks, you can see that they were maintaining democracy, but neither Socrates nor Aristotle nor Plato. It's there. It's a government of the crowd, और जहां भीड़ का तंत्र है. So democracy has never been a best form of government throughout, except 20th century. Except 20th century. In 20th century, before 20th century, nobody was even willing to call themselves as democrat. There were civil society movements, organizations, events were there. But it was quite restricted to the elite class assertion for power in the name of democracy, in the name of people who will get the power. It's the elites. The Magna Carta, ho, that all civil rights movement happened, all Bill of Rights, all whether it is a 1776 American Revolution, which is a 1789 French Revolution or Glorious Revolution, a civil war, all movements were led by the elites, but in the name of people. So the idea is that somewhere ये भरम तो कायम रहता है कि हमारे नाम पर कोई तो रूल कर रहा है. Fair enough. But what happened that in the past, in 20th century, democracy became the glorious idea. Even dictators started calling themselves, we are far more Democrats than the Wilson, than Roosevelt by that time. Two world wars were being fought to save the democracy. World War First, World War Second. But on the one hand, even that war on democracy extended to the Cold War as well. And there, on the one side, the liberal democracy, on the other side, the communism. If you will speak to the communists, they will say that we are far greater democratic than the Americans. We are people's democracy. And I must recall that even Mussolini was saying that we are the real democracy, we represent the hope of the people. Hitler was saying our party is the greatest democrat ever in the world history. So democracy became promiscuous word. Everybody wants to adopt it. We are more democracy than you. So fair enough. So what happened that nowadays democracy is all about that. What is the source of power? What is the source of power? To normally say that it is people who are the source of power. What is the purpose of the government? Common good. सबकी अच्छाई के लिए करना. And how that ruler be elected? Methodology. The source, purpose and method. How to get the ruler elected. Nowadays only it is reduced to a methodology only. How to get an elite, a persona critic, or a dictator, or anyone who loves to concentrate power in their hand, getting elected globally. Lekin, in India, that what is the source of power? Read the preamble. Preamble is saying that what is the source of power in India? We the people. Thankfully, see that. Must salute Ambedkar here. You know that? I just recalled 2 amendments in this script. Somebody said that in the name of God, preamble shall begin, not we the people. In the name of God, we the people hereby solemnly resolve to constitute into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. 76 के बाद भी बात कर रहा हूँ. Ambedkar registered a huge protest and said, no. There are some people who do not believe in God. There are people that India was so tolerant. India is tolerant. We have taken care of even those who do not believe in God. Neither Allah, nor Bhagwan, nor Jesus. Yeah. Similarly, somebody said it, no. Gandhi is a God, father of India. Another person said, in the name of Gandhi, let us begin with Indian preamble, in the name of Gandhi. And then again, a protest was registered. These two amendments on 17th October 1949 in Constituent Assembly debate was denied. And our preamble, which talks about what is the source of power, is people, we the people. What is the purpose of the government? Ensuring justice to all. Social, economic, political. Fraternity. You may belong to different religion, different caste, different groups, different regions. But we share fraternity. We dine together. We celebrate each other's festival. That's the beauty of Indian democracy and constitution. And still, that beauty is intact. Don't go with propaganda. So the point is that it is also showing that when your constitution came into being, so today that 73 years have elapsed, 73 सालों तक हमने अपनी जमहूरियत को बचा कर रखा है. इससे बड़ी सक्सेस क्या चाहते हो आप? 73 years. एंड अभी आजादी के 75 साल भी हमने सेलिब्रेट किया. Many of our neighbors fail to survive their democracy. Still that, I'm talking about that the constitution which we adopted on 26th November 1949 and made it effective on 26th January 1950 still represent the ideals of our freedom struggle. It carries that. Why we picked up 26th January? Because that day we celebrated Purna Swaraj. That was things. That's not enough. The point is that from 1951, the first general elections in India, to 2019, 17 general elections have happened freely, fairly, with the efficient management of Election Commission of India, with occasional disturbances, with some discontent. Still, periodic elections are happening. 17 elections. Forget about 17 elections. More than 400 assembly elections have happened so far. More than 400. Forget about more than thousands of the elections have happened in the local bodies. India is maintaining its electoral democracy quite intact. Can you imagine? Each vote matters. You know that? The biggest festival of democracy is its election. And every day, somewhere, every year, we are in election mode. Somewhere, at some corner of India, election is happening. Some people are celebrating it. There is a peaceful transfer of power. There is no military coup. Still, you are able to mobilize protest. You are able to register your discontent. You are entitled to have a play card. क्या हुआ कि that we talk about freedom of speech and expressions. That there was one dog somehow from Soviet Union reached to the United States of America. Everybody was all other dogs were there. बोले थे यार तुम इतने दूर से आए क्यों? क्या वहाँ खाने को नहीं मिलता? And I said no. We get far tastier food than yours. तुम्हें घूमने के लिए मिलता? Our country is a bigger country and very beautiful country. Everything. Then what happened? Why did you come to United States? That yeah, I came. मुझे वहाँ भोंकने को नहीं मिलता. The point is that freedom of speech and expression is so important for each and every one. तो इसमें होता then one person was like that. The point is that all our rights are still intact in the beautiful document called Constitution of India. Having more than 145,000 words, a voluminous, the biggest of any independent country of the world except Alabama, one province of the United States of America. We are changing. That amendments are happening in our constitution with the changing needs. You cannot produce an static document. It's not a Bible. It's not a Quran. It's a living document. It changes with the changing needs of the time. So 105 amendments happened. Still the spirit of the document remain intact. The philosophy of our constitution enshrined in our preamble remain intact. The point is like this. We have the whole decentralized unit. The Indian elections, I have to focus on that. That 17 election I was talking about. Have you seen that? You must go through the data. What has happened with India? So there was a period of till 1960s. There were personalities which were being worshipped like Patel was on the scene, Nehru was on the scene, Gandhi was also for initial period. and the name which Ravinderji just recalled. They all were engaged into nation building process. Despite their ideological differences, they were together. और nowadays हम खाना खाना छोड़ 70 साल की दोस्ती को एक मुद्दे पर छोड़ दे रहे हैं. They had a huge era of struggle, discontent, but now, oh, Konda Nageshwarji is having a different viewpoint. I have a different viewpoint. There is no dialogue possible. Only acrimonious dialogue. What is this? Is this a democracy? When you cannot coexist in your everyday life, how the politics? Because politics is a reflection of society. What you do in everyday life is also reflected in the politics at the larger level. We may have disagreement, we may have discontents, but so India was a consensus polity till 1960, which was otherwise referred by Rajni Kothari as Congress system. Everyone were contributing. Everyone were contributing. Imagine a situation. The first general election was happening in 1951. There were 489 constituencies representing 26 Indian states, and at that time the population was 36 crore. First general election, 36 crore. 17th general elections, how many crore? Can you imagine? मुझे तो जीरो याद नहीं रहता, तो बिलियन ओलियन में बोल के काम चला देता हूँ. So 140 crore. In fact, today's data is 140 crore. By that time, 133, 134 were there. Not about that. But population was 138, 39 crore, but 900 million voters were there. On the other side, 17 million and 900 million voters. There was 2 seats in each constituency when we began with. Now each constituency is there. At that point of time, multiple seats were there in one constituency till 1960s. But at that point of time, the enthusiasm of the people to participate in the electoral politics were different. Who were participating in that point of time? Those who were educated. They were full of energy to take part into the electoral processes. Who were participating in the electoral process? Those who were from urban areas. शहरों में रहते थे तो उनको अंदर राजनीतिक जागरूकता ज़्यादा थी. They were more politically aware. And who were participating? Those who were rich people. Poor people were quite engaged in their everyday life. The political awareness was not there. And this was the case till 1970s. In the first general election, 46% people turn out. As now that 17th general elections, highest ever globally presentation in a democracy where the voting is not compulsory but out of choice. 67% people were standing on the line, धूप खा रहे थे वोट देने के लिए. Imagine a situation. The turnout is that enthusiasm of the people to participate in the democratic function. It's a celebration. And imagine last 2 elections. If I take an example that in 2009 elections, it was around some 58% people. 8% increase in 2014 election means more and more people were motivated. And further in 2019, one more percentage from 67 to 68. The turning out. We have never thought of that we will reach to this level. 51 elections, 84% people were unable to read and write. 84% were unable to read and write. But now 70% literacy are there. That literacy at that point of time, it's around some 16%, now 70%. And the voting, but nowadays who is voting in the elections? It is people belonging to rural areas. The democracy has reached to the gaon, that rural areas, villages. They are now more politically active. Their participation is huge. People who are uneducated are more enthusiastic to vote in the elections. People who are semi-literate are interested. Rural people, poor people, less educated people are full of energy and they are sustaining democracy. You know that the turnout is 67%. Who are those 33% not going to the booth? You know that? Oh, you know why the rich are not, उनको धूप थोड़ी सी लग जाती है ना, नहीं जाते हैं, वो कहते हैं anyone who will come to power, they will get their work done. They have a connections in BJP, they have a connection in Congress, they have a connection in TRS, TDP. Anyone who will come to power, they will get their work done. So what is the issue of point of standing in a queue and vote? Urban people, they are, because all offices are located in urban areas. Now, democracy is the hope of poors. They are surviving democracy now. That is the change. The elites are withdrawing. The rich are withdrawing. The urban class people are withdrawing from the electoral process. And who is sustaining the democracy? We the people. We the people. Who are the people? I have just given you an answer to that. But we have matured a lot. When elites were active, the participation was 46%. When commoners become active, the turnout is 67%. When first general election, the first time India has to organize an elections based on universal adult suffrage, because India has never experienced that. Everybody will vote. People were not knowing what is vote. But Thakur Sahab, Zamindar Sahab, Nawab Sahab took the, I have 1 lakh vote, don't worry about it, you will get the vote in the elections. But even then, when first elections happened, it was organized in 68 phases. 68 phases over a period of some 3 months, 4 months in fact, from 25th October 1951 to 21st February 1952. In 2019, it was concluded in 7 phases alone. 7 phases. From 68 phase to 7 phase, we have reached a lot. With 17 crore voters, we took 68 phases, 4 months, but with 990 crore voters, we took 7 phases and concluded in a month. Is this not our achievement? Electoral women. Women, and you know that what has happened. The women were being considered that they are not politically active. They cannot decide. They lack political awareness. But women, electoral turnout. Now in 2019 elections, the turnout of women voters in the elections have exceeded men voters in so many states. And now both the turnout is same, 68% for men and 67% for women. That was, the gap was around 15%. Till 2009, the gap of men and women voting was 15%. Are we not that able to do that? Imagine a situation, youth are participating. That we never thought of that. The young people will have this kind of politics. Now that youths, when my father enrolled me in Aligarh Muslim University, one advice he gave me: पढ़ाई करना, नेतागिरी मत करना. Don't do politics. When I was in the class, my teacher was saying, "Beta, you are a very good student. Keep yourself away from politics." And when I am in the job, the university is saying that you are doing too much politics. So the point is that politics is a bad phenomenon. What? Politics is all about that. If you are able to resolve the differences, you are doing politics. If you are able to distribute the national resources properly, you are doing politics. if you are able to make better laws to suit the aspirations and need of the people, you are doing politics. Wherever there is a peace, there is a politics. But wherever there is a conflict, politics is all gone thought of that. अरे मोटा आदमी होगा, मुंह में गुटखा पान खाया होगा. All भ्रष्ट are politicians. जो झूठ बोल सकता है, जैसे चुनाव जीता और फॉर्च्यूनर उसके पास 5-6 हो जाएं, पेट्रोल पंप, गैस एजेंसीज, लैंड एक्विजिशंस. No, not politics. You are in the wrong impression. Those are anti-politics. These are not politics. Dividing people is not politics. That is anti-politics. Inflating the conflict is anti-politics. Scamsters are doing anti-politics. I am in search of a politics. Politics means better governance. Politics means better laws. When politics fails, conflict begins. It's not because of politics the conflict begins. When politics fails, conflict begins. When politics fails, the war begins. When politics fails, the communal rights begins. Save politics. It is now on your shoulder to save the politics. The point is this: we did a lot over the period of time. You know that. Now the politics is for Bahubalis. We love getting selfies with the Bahubali. Yeah. See that? You want Bahubalis. Bahubalis are not losing elections. It means people don't want them to lose the elections. A democracy without a conscious citizenry is not a democracy. In democracy, it is people who should be accountable with the ruler. You cannot say the only ruler should be accountable. You are electing criminals. You are electing Bahubalis. You are electing a caste-oriented man. You are electing, because why don't you reject them? In 2009, the election expenditure was 5,000 crore. In 2019, it was 60,000 crore. From where the money is coming into? The point is that you love that your candidate should be rich. Your candidate should be strong. Your candidate should represent your caste. Your candidate should represent your identity. If you want that, why the politics, that Indian parliament, which is lacking youth, you know that, I'm saying 65% population of India are below 35 years. But in parliament, only 12% MPs and MLAs are youth below 35 years. We want youth leaders in cricket, in football, in Bollywood, in Hollywood, in business. Top CEOs of the world are youth. Best sports person of the world are youth. But in politics, we want Buddha. Until unless you attain the age of 50 plus, you should not join politics. My goodness. Average age of our politician is 57%. Means if you want a smart India, join it with politics, not anti-politics. So a smart India will blossom in the world when smart visions will come up. When you have a vision to run Google, when you have a vision to run Amazon, when you have a vision to run United States of America as a vice president, when you have a vision to run United Kingdom as a prime minister, why the youth of India cannot be the parliamentarians, the MLAs, in fact, I'm so, forget about that top level, the corporates, the panchayats. That is why. Only that. If you want to save the fate of Indian democracy for eternity, join it with the vision of politics, not anti-politics. And that is what my claim is, that let's come out. For example, women Thankfully, when we started, there were only 5% women in the parliament. We are now some 12 to 14% women in the parliament. Fair enough. Are you happy with that? Some are happy, some are not. If you are unhappy with this state, make it prominent. The question, if you are not able to raise questions, you are not fulfilling your responsibility as a citizen of this country. My only hope is that first be a citizen, then demand accountability from the state. The moment you will be transcending your identities, thinking of India as one of the developed country, bringing the glory of India back, then raise questions on the government. So this is what I wanted to say, and I don't want to bore you again. Thank you each one of you for inviting. Thank you, J- uh, Nagesh ji, and then all my friends for calling this. See you again. Let's make India a great nation together, not setting apart. All of us.